Welcome to the Grace Fellowship podcast. We are so excited that you're here listening with us. We hope that today's episode will inspire and equip you to know and follow Jesus.
Hey everybody, welcome back to week 2 of Identity here on the Grace Fellowship podcast. Pastor Chris and I are going to talk through week 2 of Identity. Chris, you taught yesterday on dealing with the lies that we believe and dealing with false identity.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And but first, we probably should do weekend recap. What are we recapping?
It was quite a weekend.
It was.
That's what's really funny. Let's see. Friday and Saturday was our marriage
Oh
conference.
yeah, how'd I forget? Almost forgot about that.
That was you actually responsible.
I was
for
responsible
it, so
for
that's
it.
good. It was marriage conference. That's how many did we have? Been asked several times.
We right at 300.
Right at 300. Okay, yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's great, and it was good energy in the room. Great, conversations that were happening, and I think it was a great tool for a lot of people just in their marriages.
I know my wife and I had some really good conversations, and especially out of the we had a video from Dan Leanne from New Spring Church and Community Church in South Carolina, and I got a lot out of that, and so we had some good conversations.
It was good
coming out of that. So yeah, it was good. Friday, Saturday we had marriage conference, 300-ish so people here, and then yesterday was baptism Sunday.
19. We got to baptize 19
people.
Jess said that, sent me a text that said that we're at 51 for the year.
Wow,
that's pretty exciting.
Wow,
I love it.
2 months in.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's exciting.
That's crazy. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know if you were in, was it the 11 o'clock service? We had the
Ivan
and Monty? Max and Monty.
Max and Ivan.
Max and Ivy.
I mean, you can call them. Maybe you're trying to change the names to
maybe.
Protect.
Anyhow, really crazy story. We probably don't even have time to unpack it all, but it was really cool to see him get to baptize his friend that he led to Christ, who really coming out of some really rough stuff, difficult stuff.
And he's got a little bit of a journey ahead, but he has hope in the journey, and that's what's so cool about it.
Yeah, and I hope our church will want to walk with him through that stuff.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
I had another cool thing yesterday. A guy walked out the front door and then turned back around and walked right back in, and with tears in his eye, young man, just young family. He's got a wife and a baby, and just looks like a tough dude. But with tears in his eyes, he was going, "I needed that today, and I needed a relationship with Jesus." And I said, "Well, did you pray with me?" He said, "Yeah, I did." And so we got to talk a little bit about that. But he told me, I didn't grow up in church. I don't know really any of this. And I was like, perfect. You're in the right place. Cool. And so we'll be walking with him too. But I just, man, that is so exciting. It puts fuel in the fire just to, and I hope it does that for our church. I hope our church sees, that is why we're here, to inspire and equip people to know and follow Jesus. And I think there's even more. Another one of the baptisms yesterday that I just got excited about. We talk about Easter and Christmas being big opportunities to reach lost people. There was one who was baptized yesterday who came to the December 23rd Christmas Eve services with her sister. It was the first time she'd ever been in church.
Right.
And she gave her life to Christ.
She was here, yeah.
And so with Easter coming up, that's why I think it matters. And I'm going to go ahead and talk about this real quick. But Easter's coming up. And we're going to begin really asking our church and pressing our church that if you call Grace your home, unless you are bringing one of your friends or friends' families to the 9:30 and 11, we want you to attend one of the other services, because we know that 9:30 and 11, just based on our trends, there are going to be likely more people than we necessarily have seats for. And we want every person who comes at 9:30 and 11 to have the opportunity to be engaged and hear the story of who Jesus is and who he wants to be in their life. And so I'm going to begin asking people, man, just because of the stories like the Christmas, why do we do these things? Why? Because we know that these are specific targets for people who may not normally come to church. They may come at that moment, and God may have a plan for them at that moment. So be a very strategic move for us as a church is to say, hey, let's create as much space as possible at 9:30 and 11, which is the most optimal time for people to come to church. It's the most natural time in our culture. That's when people go to church. And so let's create as much space there as possible.
We know that we will have seating and additional seating and then additional seating.
Yes.
We try not to say overflow. So
yes,
we're going to be prepared to seat as many people as we can.
Yeah.
But
we hope the Holy Spirit sends his overflow. Let's go.
There you go.
All right. Sorry.
All right. Well, I'll sit in overflow seating then. That'd be great. But the reality is we want our guests to have the best seats.
That's right.
And so if we make room for them, then they can have the best experience, and the best experience opens them up to hear the most important message.
Yeah. We're going to make room for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Is that a song? I don't know. I'm sitting here going, what do you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen, I don't have
What song is that?
It's about the Holy Spirit. I will make room for you to do whatever you want to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of words in that phrasing, but anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
Y'all, I don't have as much of a filter today. This will be a fun one.
Well,
here we go.
I'm going to make a false identity statement, Chris. You are not a singer. I'm kidding. Actually, you can sing.
on.
You actually can sing.
Well,
You know.
I don't know. Not today.
Yeah, not today. All right. Well, let's jump into talking about identity, and specifically, the overriding theme for the series is that our real relationship is found. Our real identity is found in a relationship with Jesus.
Right.
And then today or yesterday, what you talked about was really the overarching theme was being able to identify the lies that we believe and letting go of those so that we can get to true identity. So we got to shed false identity so that we can get to true identity.
Yeah.
And what was you had an overarching statement. To live in our real identity, we must let go of the lies we believe.
Yeah.
Right. And then you jumped in, you talked about the story of Gideon.
Yes.
A little bit. And then you told a little bit of your own story.
Yeah. I
So-
actually led off with the story of that, and just the way my brain was working, generally speaking, as a third grade boy. And I can't tell you how many people told me as they left they felt so validated.
Emily said that this morning.
Emily did, yeah. She was like, "Oh man,
Yeah.
I feel
Right, so-
seen. I feel heard."
So let's talk about that story real quick. We don't have to redo the whole story, but basically, a teacher called you out in class when you were doing what's that called? The
Silent sustained torture.
sustained reading.
Yeah.
And some of you may remember doing that in elementary school. And that was what your class was supposed to be doing. Meanwhile, your mind is drifting all over the place.
Oh, yeah. And I didn't tell this
yeah.
part, but for whatever reason, I still remember that day. My desk there's only one window in that room, and it was like floor to ceiling, and I could see out onto the playground from my...
That's not helpful.
No. How do you think my brain got on kickball?
Right.
I mean, I'm looking out the window. I mean, I'm dreaming
Right.
big
You're
dreams.
just planning
over here.
ahead.
Yeah.
So your mind is wandering all over. You're not reading, and suddenly you hear the teacher call you out and ask to tell what page you were on.
Yeah.
And you were still on page 1.
That's right.
And from that, you in that experience, you believed a lie, which was that you are not a good reader.
Yeah.
Right.
Not a good reader. I'm bad at school.
Yeah.
I'm a discipline problem.
Yeah.
You know, all the things.
So here's a lie, and
Yeah.
it starts to form this false identity.
And that's probably like a good thing. And you may want to talk about this later, but is it often it's not just one lie.
No.
It's typically it may be one lie that's like the catalyst, but there's layers of lies that are often like just daisy chained to one another. And
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll use this analogy, and this shows my age a little bit. And I may have said this on the podcast before.
It doesn't. Your hair shows your age, but go ahead.
Okay, and my face and everything else, right?
It's the silver. I'm just kidding.
So I'm old enough to remember golf balls are not made this way anymore. But when I was a kid, golf balls, and we'd hit them around the yard and stuff. Then a mower would hit one or something, and so we'd find the ones that had the cover was sliced on them.
Right.
And I just loved as a kid that I'd learned that you could get that hard cover ripped off of there. And then when you got inside there, it was like a ball, but it was all rubber bands. It was all wrapped in all these little rubber bands. And if you would pick at those enough, you could get them and they would just start popping off. And then you could drop the ball and it would just bounce around as those rubber bands were shooting off of it. And eventually, after all the rubber bands came off.
That's amazing. I didn't know
You didn't know this?
No, all right.
And all those rubber bands would go down. And then eventually you get down to this little rubber ball in the core. And it's usually like a red or a green colored little core. And that's kind of the picture God gave me, even for my own process of showing me that here, I think what happens is like that core represents the true identity, the one that God created, right? The true one. Then life happens and we begin to cover that core up, and all those rubber bands represent all of the different lies that we begin to believe and the false identities that begin to create. Really, you would just say those all represent all the lies from the experiences of life. They're real. They happened, right? And then we put this nice hard cover on it, and we present ourselves to the world. Well, I'm a Titleist 4.
Yeah.
And that's not true.
Yeah.
Right. And so what God did for me is we'll shed that hard cover, right? And then begin to pick away identify those lies, begin picking away all those lies. And now let's get down and go, oh, there it is.
Yeah.
There's the real you.
Yeah.
So that tends to be how I think of it. So yeah, I think it's just tons of lies, tons of life experience that just begins to accumulate. And the problem is we've never been taught what to do with those and how to deal with them. And that's kind of what we want to teach is like, how do you first of all identify these lies, and then how do you give those to God and get rid of them? And then we're going to talk about like, how do you replace it with the truth of what God says about you? So yeah, I think it's tons of lies that pile up over time.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it comes from all the different ways we talked about yesterday. Sometimes it's your failures. And honestly, I see it a lot with failures, but then it's almost like, man, I don't want to feel that way again. And so we chase success, and then we find validation, and find value or feel valued because of our success. Yeah. And we go, well, then that is who I have to be, right? Yeah. And so we start making these I am statements more based on what we believe we have to be so that we can be valued, so we can be validated. And I don't think it just happens with men. I see this with I know some very driven, right? Is often what we call ourselves when we're chasing identity there. And I'm not pointing fingers. Like this is, I'll tell more of my story. It's like I just thought I'm just very driven, and that's just who I am. That's not who I am. It's something inside of me that's
how I'm behaving.
Right, it's behind behaving. But it's because we're chasing often validation or in some identity that's based on what I can achieve and what I can prove, and man, sometimes you get what you went after, and you look up and you've proved yourself, but you turn around and there's nobody there waiting to see if you made it. Yeah, and it was like, who was I proving this to? Yeah,
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting maybe nuance here. Let me see if I can maybe say this somewhat succinctly, which is rare for me. So I think what happens is we come to believe somewhere in life that we are lacking something. Yeah. Right. And that really is the lie and the false belief, the false identity. And so then what we do is once we come to believe that, then we're going to spend the rest of our life trying to make up for that or trying to cover that up. Yeah. Right. And so often people who are chasing success with everything they have, it's probably because somewhere earlier in life, they heard something that was that they were a failure. And so now they're going to sit out the rest of their life to prove I am not a failure. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I actually tend to think that in some ways, if we go all the way back to the original sin, with Eve, in essence, what the serpent convinced Eve of was that God was holding something back from her. There was something she didn't have. In other words, this is incomplete. And so then what she did is say, okay, well, I'm going to go get it. Now it becomes on me. I have to go get that.
Yeah.
Because I've come up short or I'm missing something. Now I got to go get it.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a great example of a young man here. I was the student pastor for a short stint here.
And you wore your hat backwards and everything. Man.
It was,
you were so
hat backwards,
so on brand.
backpack on, all those things. It was an amazing run, 3 months as a student pastor.
Yeah.
But there was a young man who every week when he would come in, he would tell me about how he had gotten in a fight at school, or he'd cussed out one of the teachers, or, whatever. And so one week I just pulled him aside and I said, hey, let's just sit down and talk for a little bit. And as I talked to him, we just asked some questions and went back far enough to find out that basically he'd been abused by, I don't know if it was his dad, but his mom's first husband, and had been abused. And then eventually she divorced, and then she connected with a new guy. So now there's a new stepdad in the picture. He also was abusive. And so we talked a little bit about when those things were happening, like how did that make you feel? What were you believing? And he just said, well, I mean, you're two, you feel you're helpless, know?
Yeah.
And he goes, and you feel worthless. You feel like you don't matter. Right. And then he actually said, I felt disrespected. Okay. That was the term he said. And I said, okay. And so then what I was able to do to walk him through and said, okay, now you see what you're doing now in life is the minute you're walking down the hallway and another kid just looks at you the wrong way and you feel disrespected, you know what you do? Come hell or high water, I'm going to be respected. And so you pick a fight.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Or an administrator says something to you that makes you feel they are not respecting me.
Yep.
And so what do? I'm going to get my respect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And this really, that's kind of an extreme example, but this is how false identity really plays out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm missing something, and now, doggone, I'm going to go get it.
Yeah.
And those come from the lies that we believe from any situation.
Yeah.
So you kind of go back and you look at the circumstance, and you look at a circumstance and then say, what was it that I believed about myself as a result of that situation?
So is that kind of, I don't want to jump too far, but maybe we can give a teaser of what you're going to talk through in the identity equip group. But when you help people identify the lies, can you get without, going all into it? What are some of the questions you ask, or how do you help people identify the lies they believe?
Well, it's interesting. Like one of the things,
the false identity.
Yeah, false identity. Yeah. One of the things I love to do is ask people about what is the most common negative emotion that you feel. What's the most common negative emotion? We really shouldn't call them negative emotions. We should call them unpleasant emotions for this reason. What I will tell people is, I'm going to tell you that there is something that God gives you that's a beautiful gift. And when I tell you what it is, you're going to think I'm crazy because it doesn't seem like a great gift. It's negative emotions.
Yeah.
And so if you can identify, well, here's a negative emotion. Well, negative emotions are just like a warning on your dashboard in your car.
Right.
Right. So your overheating light comes on your dashboard, telling you something's wrong under the engine. Something's going wrong, and you need to stop and take a look at it. Mm-hmm. Or we could just put duct tape over it and manage, right, and just keep rolling. Well, it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
But in our life, that's exactly what negative emotions are. They're a warning from God. It's a gift from God to say, hey, Mark, you're believing something that's not true.
Yeah.
Like, you're angry? Why did that make you angry? Or you're sad. Why did that make you sad?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And then if you can spend time digging into, well, here's why that made me feel that way.
Yeah.
Then you're going to be able to identify a lie. What is it I'm believing? And then go give that to God. That's the important thing, is give it to God.
Yeah.
And then ask him to tell you what's actually true. It's one of the ways you can do it. Other ways is talk about what's your most common fear. Like, what do you just tend to worry about in life? And you can work backwards from there. Or you kind of set it you did say it in the sermon yesterday, or what are the I am statements that you make, right? Like yours was, I am not a good student.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you believed. And you had evidence, by the way.
I did have evidence.
You had evidence.
And honestly, and this is where I talk about self-fulfilling prophecy, because I had evidence. Well, guess what? Because I believe that, I just continued to pile up evidence because I believed I wasn't a good student. So guess what I did?
Yeah.
I acted and behaved like a not good student, right?
Yeah.
Like I just continued to, and I just believe, well, that's just who I am. I don't study and I don't. And my parents were like, no, that's not true of the Hearst family.
Right.
You're going to. and so praise God for them, because they didn't allow me to continue to, they didn't necessarily say this is a false identity, because we didn't talk much about identity, when I was a kid. Yeah. But looking back, that's essentially what they were doing. They're going, we don't agree with your assessment of that. You can be a good student. You can. Right. And so they, pushed back on that, and eventually God walked me, through that. And it really wasn't until I was 35 that I began to really take a journey in identity. Yeah. I didn't see how it was all connected until then, and then it's just progressed since then. But
right, yeah. So, you could talk through common fear, negative emotions that you feel, I am statements that you're making. And when you make those I am statements, I think it is asking yourself, would God ever say that about me?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, we think God's mean sometimes. And and if you really stop and think about it, no, God would actually never say that to me. Well, then it's not true.
Yeah.
If God wouldn't say it, it is not true. Yeah. And what the reality is it's coming from the enemy. Absolutely coming from the enemy, right? Yeah. Well, and I mean, it comes from circumstances and all that, but the enemy is feeding those lies to you. So, identifying those, that made me think. Actually, I wrote it down this morning in 1 Corinthians. Where is it? 2 Corinthians 10:5 is the verse that says, "So we take every thought captive and we make it obedient to Christ." Mm-hmm. And this is the importance of it, is because we feed ourselves lies all the time. Mm-hmm. All the time, we feed ourselves lies, or we buy lies. Yeah. And we just move right through them, right? Yeah. And I even think the enemy whispers lies to us, and we just, that's right. Yeah. And it's easy to agree with lies because, again, we have evidence in our life to prove it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And it could be, the enemy could whisper to me, Mark, you're a terrible dad. Yeah. Well, first of all, God would never say that to me. Right. But it's easy to just go, yeah, I know. Yeah. And I can immediately think about when I yelled at my kid or whatever it was, right? I got 10 million examples of how I've been a bad father. Yeah. Right? Me too. And so it's easy for me to agree with that lie and go, yeah, I am.
Mess that up. Yeah.
Right. But if we would stop and go, wait, is that true?
God never said that.
Would God say that about me? Yeah. And so then go to God and go, God, what do you say about me? Yeah. And God would probably say, I made you to be an amazing father. Yeah. You're an amazing father. Now, there are some things we can work on. Yeah. But you're an amazing father. Yeah. Right. He would never say you're a terrible father. Right. So it's just how easy we buy these lies.
Yeah. And I think sometimes what's interesting, some of those lies, like, a lot of people growing up would say I was ADD, and maybe have moments of that even today. The reality is that it's not a disorder, actually. What science is showing is that it's a different way that the brain functions.
It's a different kind of intelligence.
It's it's a different kind. It's actually a very high functioning brain. They're typically really good problem solvers and good in emergencies because of the way the brain fires and operates and whatnot. Well, that is not the language that anyone has for that for a out of control third grader. Yeah. Whose brain is all over the place. Yeah. That's not the language for that. It's a disorder because you're not functioning in the system where you're supposed to function. And that's not a shot at education or anything like that, because I still had to figure out how to function within the system. I mean, at the end of the day, there's still such thing as self-control and discipline and managing. But at the same time, I was believing as a kid I was a disorder. Well, here's what happens is that a lot of times I think that a lot of people, we get these medical labels or these, these diagnoses of a disorder or whatever, when no, it's identifying a different way. It's not a disorder. It's a different way of operating. And now you got to figure out, all right, how do I operate with that? And this is not medical advice or whatever. I'm just saying, like, this is one of the things that God has showed me over time in my own life, is that He creates us different. What the enemy likes to do and loves to do, and I'm going to talk about this in week 4, is he takes our differies and tells them they're deficiencies.
Yeah, right.
Right. That and
When we compare against
and we compare thinking, well, I'm just not normal. Well, what is normal?
Yeah.
The only thing normal is on the washing machine, right? I mean, that's the only thing that there is no such thing as normal.
Yeah.
And then what also happens, I think, and I'm probably running all over the place, but
No, we're good.
What also happens is, you have all these personality tests and I love them. I think they're interesting. It helps explain people's natural bent and the way they respond and under stress and stuff like that. And what'll happen sometimes is they'll go, well, I'm just a 3.
Yep.
It's just who I am. It's just no. It's how you operate. It's wiring, and honestly, some of your identity or even a false identity may be what's driving some of that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we find our identity in what some personality tests. And so then that personality test tells us, well, here's your strengths and here's your weaknesses. And we go, okay, I guess that's true about me. Right. And we begin to develop a false identity behind some personality assessment that doesn't necessarily say who you are. It's not who you are. It's how you are naturally bent to respond in certain situations. Right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you say it any different?
I agree totally. I think actually my mentor, he and I have talked about this, and I asked him what he thinks about certain personality tests and stuff like that. He likes the Enneagram. They train their team in the Enneagram. Some people out there think the Enneagram's evil. Whatever, I don't know. But Enneagram, and you're an Enneagram 3, I'm an Enneagram 8. And then we use a profile strengths assessment here at our church with our staff and people we interview and stuff called Leading from Your Strengths. And we tend to look at that profile. There's all kinds of personality things out there and strengths things. What he would say is those are all good tools, but the problem is most of us are walking around in false identity. Almost all of us are in false identity. And then we take a personality test and we're answering it in the false identity.
Yeah.
And so all you're going to get is a report that just further reinforces the false identity. Right?
That's good.
And so his encouragement would be get into true identity. Get into true identity. And this has to be done with God, right? And the Holy Spirit. And then go take a personality test or a strengths test or Enneagram. And then it adds color, right? It may add some color and some practicality to, oh, okay, I see. And I would say that's true. Like Enneagram 8, it added a lot of understanding to how God wired me. But then you're right. I can also sometimes, Enneagrams tend to be blunt. We can hurt people's feelings and all that. And sometimes I say something that's harsh and then somebody lets me know and I'm an Enneagram 8. Well, I just made an excuse for my sin, right? Using an identity statement. Yeah. Well, I'm just an Enneagram 8.
Yeah.
Would God ever go, that's fine, because you're an Enneagram 8? No, he wouldn't.
No, he goes, that's not who I made you to be.
That's not what I made
you to be. It might not be how you function.
Yeah.
And I what's the other one that always in my brain call it Massey Ferguson, but that's a tractor type.
The Myers-Briggs.
Myers-Briggs. I always laugh.
Massey Ferguson,
legit, I always think Massey Ferguson. I'm like, no, that's a tractor. Because that was the first one I was ever trained on, and it does help you understand, hey, how you operate, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's who you are. And really, if you're in a healthy place in your identity, even the things that they say are, well, here are the maybe unhealthy traits of this personality type, then you shouldn't be seeing those unhealthy traits if you're in your healthy identity, right?
Yeah. And it doesn't mean also true identity does not mean you're everything all the time, everywhere, right?
Right.
You begin to have this beautiful understanding, and really, this would be a great segue into this, but you really begin to love yourself. And we have to say that carefully because it sounds egotistical.
Right.
But, you've heard me talk about it, but we have to go back to me, the great commandment. And the great commandment is what? The great commandments are.
Love the Lord your God, your heart, mind, and soul. Love your neighbor as yourself.
Right. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, and soul, sometimes strength, and love your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
Now, if you're like me, I was taught my whole life that means love God, love others, and then think about yourself.
Right.
Okay. Now there's some good in that thinking, but that's not what that says.
Yeah.
It says love God. That's clear. Love God first. Then it says love others how?
As you love yourself.
As you love yourself. So there's an assumption in that statement.
And if you don't love yourself very well, you're not going to love others.
You're not going to love others.
Right?
Not at all. Right.
Yeah.
And so there is this, first of all, we have to have a right view of God. You talked about that in your sermon, having a right view of God.
Yeah.
And then we have to get a right view of ourselves.
Yeah.
And that means that we have to come to the place that David does in Psalm 139, where David is saying, and if you read Psalm 139, it is not prideful and arrogant what David is saying.
Yeah.
But it's almost like he's outside of himself, looking at himself and saying, like, that one, God, that one that you created, the one you knit together in my mother's womb. Oh, I love that guy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so complex. I can't even figure myself out.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying, right? And then, do you hear any arrogance in that?
No.
In fact, he's pretty humbled by it.
Yeah.
Right?
Blown away. And that's how we should be when we begin to understand the way God sees us, which is also, we talked about the lies we believe about God. And to me, Gideon, the lie he believed about God, you've abandoned us. What do you mean you're with us? That means nothing. If we don't have right view of God, we will never be able to operate in who he created us to be and do what he created us to do.
Right.
Because our foundation for faith, our foundation for belief, our foundation for purpose is him. We are image bearers. We talked about that last week. We are bearing his image. And if we have a false belief about who he is, we will project a false identity, a false image of
we will
who
distort
he is.
that.
We will distort it.
Yeah.
And so that was huge.
Yeah.
The other thing I talked about just briefly, and was the idea of there was a generation that grew up that didn't honor God.
Right.
And our commitment to the next generation.
That was in Judges 2.
Yes. Listen, I say this because parents, I think this is so essential for raising your kids. You talked about this, I think, on the podcast last week, is that y'all want, I don't remember if you did or not, where I heard it. But anyway, you want your kids to discover their God-given identity before they graduate, before they leave. And for me, like, that is so much of, what I want my kids to understand. And it'll change, it changes peer pressure in high school. It changes. But here's what I've discovered is a lot of times, a lot of parents go, well, I don't even know how to do that. And that's not the way I was raised. And we just repeat what we saw before rather than going, no. What's the right view of God? What's the right view of myself?
Yep.
All right. So how do I parent from a true identity that God's created me to be?
Yeah.
I don't have to do it the way, I could do it this way, the way God has designed me to do it.
Yep.
And I can teach the next generation to do the same. And I find it so important for the next generation.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, I was just thinking you said something and circling back to the great commandment, love the Lord your God with all our heart, mind, and soul, and then love others as you love yourself. So really the order is love God, love yourself, or love the one that God made you to be, right? That gives you the ability then to love others. And here's what I would say is, Chris, when I'm in false identity, I can't love you.
Yeah.
I can't, because I believe that I am coming short somehow. Like I am not complete. I'm missing something, right? I'm believing some kind of lie. And so what I'm going to go around in life and do is what I'm going around in life is I need something from you. Now I may act like a friend. I may act like I love you, but what I'm trying to get from you is validation.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you to tell me, no, you are good enough, Mark.
Yeah.
You are, right? And so really what I'm doing is I'm manipulating other people, right? I'm not loving you. And so when I get into true identity, the beautiful thing is, man, I'm good with God. I'm good with who God made me to be. I don't need anything from you, so I can just love you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And my dad always taught me that the purest form of love is to be able to give to others without expecting anything in return.
Yeah.
Well, that would be an example of that, right? When I'm in true identity, I don't need anything from you. And so I can just give to you, and I don't expect anything in return.
Right.
Nothing. So if you don't reciprocate, okay,
Yeah.
me and God are good, but I can just love you.
Yeah.
Right. And think about that like in marriage. Think about that in parenting. Think about that in boss-employee relationships.
Yeah.
If I'm good in my identity, I don't need anything from you, and I can just love you.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's really powerful.
It's there's a confidence. There's a holy confidence that God gives you when you begin to discover your real identity.
Yeah. It's huge.
And I'm gonna save some of that thought process for later because it is definitely something that we could talk about in week 4. So,
yeah.
Well, Mark, what else you got? We're gonna have to. They're telling us they're flapping their wings.
I have
there,
this.
So.
I just was praying about this morning. I think I should share this. I want to hit two verses really quick, and I think they help maybe think about this process of false identity, true identity. So if we were to go look at Ephesians 6:17, and that is where it talks about put on the full armor of God, right? And it goes through all these pieces of armor. And then it gets down to the end and it says, well, let's just look at it. This is in the NLT, verse 16, 17. It says in the NLT, in addition to all of these, hold up the shield of faith to do what? To stop the fiery arrows of the devil.
Yep.
Okay. If the enemy, if the devil is shooting arrows at you, what likely are those? They're
lies, accusations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Condemnation, accusation, all those things, right? So they're lies.
Yeah.
That's what the enemy is. What that's saying is put up your shield of faith to distinguish those and put those out. Okay. And then it says, and put on the salvation as your helmet. In other words, think saved. Believe what's true about yourself.
Right.
Believe what God has redeemed about you. Put on that as your helmet. So think right. And then it says, take up the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God.
Yeah.
Okay. And Chris has a tiny little sword. It looks like it comes from like the Clue game or something.
I have no clue where it came. I have no clue where it came from.
I was teasing him the other day. I picked it up and I said, the Bible talks about the sword of the Spirit, and it is not a long sword that you do battle with, but this is a little excessive in small. Anyhow, bad joke. So put on the salvation as your helmet and take up the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God. Here's an interesting thing. The word of God there is rhema, and that means when God speaks to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Spoken.
And so look at this way. Shield of faith. The enemy's shooting lies at you. Okay. In battle, every once in a while, a dart gets past the shield. In life, sometimes our faith, we let our faith shield down. The enemy shoots an arrow, and and it lands. It lands. Now, guess what? I'm believing the lie. My faith didn't catch it. It hit me. It's here. That sword actually was not a long sword that you would do battle with. It was a short sword, and one of the uses was for close up hand-to-hand combat. But the other was, I learned this, was that sword. When an arrow landed from the enemy, a soldier would take that sword and dig it out.
That makes me queasy, but go ahead.
So, right. So in life, I let my faith shield down. The enemy, a lie lands from the enemy, and I'm believing it.
Yeah.
What do?
You got to dig it out.
I go to God. God, what do you say about that? God, I'm believing this. What do you say about that? And he takes that and he pulls it out.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good.
Check this out real quick. Last one. We'll jump over to Hebrews 12:1. Did we already get the land the plane sign?
Yeah, we got the three planes. We got 3 planes landing.
3 planes. Oh my gosh. We've got traffic on the runway. 12:1. Okay. Hebrews 12:1 says this. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. Okay. Jump over to the Passion Translation, and it says this. As for us, we have all of these great witnesses who encircle us like clouds, so we must let go of every wound that has pierced us in the sin we so easily fall into. Then we will be able to run life's marathon race with passion and determination, for the path has already been marked out for us. If you look at the notes here, when it talks about, let's see.
The wound that pierced us.
Yeah, when it's C, where's C there? Yeah. So every wound that has pierced us, in the Passion Translation, the note says, or get rid of every arrow tip
in us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The implication is that we carry an arrow tip inside of us, or lies that landed.
Yeah.
And it's a wound that weighs us down and keeps us from running our race with freedom.
Yeah.
So now you tie those two verses together, and it's saying when the lie gets past your faith and lands, what do? God, what do you say about that? And you dig it out, right?
Yeah.
And when we do that, if we don't do that, that's the weight that keeps us from living life in freedom and running the race that God set out for us.
Mm-hmm.
When we get rid of those, it says we can run the race.
Yeah.
Right? We can run the race.
Yeah.
This is false. This is
stuff.
false identity right here.
Yeah.
Get rid of false identity. Get rid of the
go
lies.
with the lies. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I love it, man.
We
It's
got to
good
wrap it up.
stuff.
There's
It
probably
is.
a ton more we could say about this.
So funny when we sit down. Sometimes I'm like, I'm not even sure where we're going to go with this, but then it's great conversation. I love it.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is, in the heartbeat for this week, is simply to live your real identity. You've got to let go of the lies that you believe, the lies you believe about yourself, but really it starts with the lies you believe about God.
Yeah.
He loves you, he cares for you, he values you, he treasures you. Man, believe what he says.
Yeah. So if for homework, if people want to go back and read Judges 6, 7, and 8, you can read the story of Gideon and look at, here's a guy who was acting like a coward, living like a coward, believed he was a coward, and believed that he had to live in fear.
Yep.
God shows up
and
says, hey, mighty man of valor, or hero.
Yeah.
And then he just gives him one step at a time. Will you just come out here and be who I called you to be?
He didn't
and then watch
become
what
a
happens.
hero. That's who he was.
He was.
He just had to learn
Will
to walk
you believe
in
who I say you are? Yeah. So, okay. Well, there's going to be a lot more. Again, if you'll sign up for the Equip group on identity, we're going to get into this and actually walk through it. But then we're coming back next week with week 3 of identity.
Yep.
See you then.